Well, Eric, you really challenged us. You touched technology, you touched social, you touched business, and all in a short presentation. And you also touched a little bit of evolution theory in your last slide. So I can imagine.
Included already, no.
So I can imagine there must be some questions for Eric to ask. So please feel free, raise your hands, check your beer coaster where you noted the questions on.
I did have one question. In the beginning, you were talking about the success of big data. Why are you still continuing with processing it instead of such an optional way to, use data?
I believe that big data will be in the end successful, and most of the companies will be data driven. But I also want to warn about the projects that will be coming, because we are now in a phase that we have risen unusually high expectations, and that will always be ending in disappointment. And so the inflated expectations we are now in, I try to minimize a little bit. So that's what I try to do. But I'm still a true believer, because all the things I do now has to deal with data, data-driven, all the initiatives I'm involved with. But I also learned from a lot of projects getting too big, where we could not manage it anymore, because as peoples we couldn't get our arms across of it. And I see now that we are building the same sort of systems again, and even bigger. So that's a warning I want to give you. But jump into it, because you will be far more clever than I am. So don't jump in this mistake. Thank you for the question.
With all the big data analyses and all the personalizations, don't you risk putting people in their own little bubble?
Yeah. There was actually the Internet Bubbles, a book, probably you refer to it. Of course, you run the risk if you personalize your email, you personalize your advertise you get, the news figures you get, and you enter into a ghetto without knowing it. And that's a risk. But actually, after the book was written, the Internet Bubble, there was some research and that showed that people were clever enough to find different ways not to enter this kind of isolation. So they find different ways to collect different views on topics. So the risk wasn't as big as described in that book. I forget the name of the writer. But again, on the other hand, when I started 30 years ago, it was a Catholic school with a Catholic newspaper, with a Catholic, so that was a Catholic bubble. And now you can see everything via internet. So I think it's a warning. We should, because I say maybe it's not now, but maybe a few years from now, or maybe next month. So we should be very eager to be a fox, and also take other sources, and don't believe Google only, don't believe Facebook only, don't believe news sites you regularly subscribe on, and shift. But that's a real risk. Thank you.
What's your best advice for a hedgehog to become a fox?
For a hedgehog to become a fox, now most of the times, people like me in suits are the hedgehogs. And some speaker made a difference between hoodies and suits. And I think you probably are trained foxes. And again, is that the biggest advice to be a fox is to be very critical and do not believe anything. Doubt everything you hear. And don't start believing one central view. or the end you end some sort of a big data fundamentalist or whatever, and that's very dangerous. So that will be my advice.
Okay, thank you. Eric, thank you for... one last question, and
the lady
over there, yeah.
I was wondering, instead of staying under the radar, could you make more noise to hide yourself?
Oh yeah, what you could do is I see a lot of students very good at it. If they post something they didn't like, they build their own noise. So just take a lot of rubbish, and in the rubbish it's very difficult to find the things people don't want to like to find. I think that's the best strategy. You can go to an island or maybe try to make such a noise that they can't find you. But even then, with the current technologies, also that's pretty tough. You have to make a lot of noise to avoid that they can find you on what you said or what you've done. For instance, things like this I shouldn't do. They put me on camera and they put me online, and they know what kind of glasses I wear, and so I'm gone already.
So I can help you out. Let's make a lot of noise for this guy. Thank you very much.